Please welcome Yaya da Costa.
Yaya da Costa.
Yaya da Costa.
Actress, executive producer, and in 2015, she played the title role in Lifetime's Whitney.
Can you be in my podcast?
And here we are.
And here we are. Have you ever can imagine that you can be like a Whitney Houston?
I had a newborn baby. So on my audition tape, he's sleeping on my back. And I'm being Whitney Houston.
What you can tell that people who think that you are very, very lucky?
I'm from Harlem, New York City.
Oh my God.
But really, cluelessness comes from fear.
What you was in Harlem, what it was like in Hollywood pictures, yeah?
We couldn't play outside in Harlem. It was dangerous. Crack. They'd just be lying around, right?
And you went out from that world and you go to another world.
Limiting myself based on the limitations of what someone says.
Do you share with your experience with other people about the brief work?
The birth culture in the world can change. My message is hands off.
Hands off.
Raps are what? Words. It's poetry. So I can say whatever I want.
Can you make it now?
You want me to do a rap?
Can we try?
Let's just trust, right?
The camera in front of you. Just feel it.
Return.
Hello everyone, this is Igor Sivovv and welcome to my podcast. Today I have a special episode in English because my guest is a true Hollywood star. Her portrayal of Whitney Houston captured the industrial heart, and her journey has been an inspiration for many, many people. She's not just an actress. She's a model, but also a powerful personality, a remarkable woman, and I'm sure she's a wonderful mother. Please welcome Yaya da Costa.
Thank you. Thank you, Igor. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, just 2 months later, you are here. So we met the first time in August in Miami.
And here we are.
And here we are.
I'm so happy to be here. I've been wanting to come to Dubai for a long time. This is my first time, but it won't be my last.
The first time in Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
And first podcast in Dubai with me here.
Yes.
It's so big honor to having you here.
Absolutely.
Because at first time when I saw you in Miami, I didn't know who you are. I just feel it's something very great person. And when we talk with Bernard Hiller, do you remember him?
Yes, of course.
He was also here several months.
I just took his class in Los Angeles. I spent a week with him doing his process, which is very powerful. Yeah.
And when Bernard Hiller told me, do you know that girl? I said, I don't know who is that exactly, but she's not usual as everyone was there. And he told me, she is a big star, not only in Hollywood, on the sky. Have a big star in heart. And when we talked with you, and I don't know why, I just came to you and told you, can you be in my podcast? I want to show people, everyone on that world, that everything can be true. Because, for example, we were in Miami and I'm living here, and it was, I think, 1% and from 100%, 1%, one chance that I can see you here.
Absolutely.
And this is one chance is going on now.
Yes.
And my first question to you, have you ever can imagine that you will be on Hollywood pictures, that you can be like a star, you can be like a Whitney Houston, you can be like a famous actress, famous model. Can you ever thought about that before, when you was young?
When I was young, I knew that I was a performer. Actually, on my way here in the car, I saw a message from my younger brother. He's 2 years younger, but we grew up kind of like twins. And he sent me a video of a little girl, an Ethiopian girl, doing like a traditional Habesha dance. And she was very serious, and she was just doing it. And the comment was, that was you. Because as a little girl, much to his chagrin, because he was very calm and serious, and I was always bothering him with my shenanigans, with my drama, you know? And so it's interesting that you ask me this question, because sometimes I think that it's kind of like miraculous, and it is miraculous. And also, if you ask the people who knew me as a kid, it's almost like I need their eyes and their voices as witnesses to confirm for me that, yes, this has always been you, right? This was, you know, a friend from college told me that when I was telling her about some difficulty that I was having with being in the public because I'm a private person, and she said, Yaya, sorry to break it to you, but it was the same at Brown. It was the same in college. High school friends have told me it was the same in high school, just on a smaller scale. And so maybe I didn't consciously know it, but I think spiritually I was being prepared for this along the way, or at least there has been some consistency in my life, right, from childhood through now. And so, no, I didn't think I was going to play Whitney Houston, but when the opportunity came, I knew I had to. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity, you know, to Angela Bassett, who directed the film, for casting me.
Yeah.
Every single job that I've had has felt on purpose. And it's a real blessing. Most people in the world don't have the privilege of choosing what to do with their lives, of living out a dream. You know, they're working to pay bills. They're doing whatever job is available. But to have the luxury to say, I'm being called to do this, and then to have the opportunity to actually do it. It's like, I know how precious that is, and I don't take it for granted.
And do you remember the Yaya before the calling of somebody from film? Somebody called you, yes, and told you that you are invited on casting, yes? For Whitney Houston.
For Whitney? Yes.
It was the calling from somebody, yeah? It was the call.
Well, my
call.
agent told me that they had been casting it for some time and were having a hard time finding their Whitney. And I didn't hear about it earlier because I was actually scheduled to do a different job. I was already committed to a show on Netflix. And this was in the earlier stages of Netflix. So
When it was? Which
well,
year?
the Whitney movie came out, I believe, in 2015.
Okay.
Right?
15 or 16?
Maybe 16.
Yeah.
It must have been, no, I think it was 15 because,
Okay.
well, anyway,
Yeah.
I just remember that it was a hustle, right? They had cast pretty much every other role, which is not new to me. My very first film was like that too, Take the Lead. Every other role was cast and they were waiting to fill this spot. And I came in at the last minute, you know, to train with the other actors dancing.
How many actors was on that?
In Take the Lead?
Yeah.
Oh, we played kids in high school and in a detention hall, the bad kids. And let's say, I can't remember exactly, maybe 8 main characters, something like that.
Yeah.
And then 2 leads. So me and Rob Brown played the main characters there, along with, obviously, Alfred Woodard, Antonio Banderas. But it was a similar feeling. It was like, wait, all of this has been already in play. These other actors are in Toronto learning from Pierre Dulain himself, who the movie was about, practicing ballroom, and they're still waiting to fill this spot of the lead. And I just came in and, you know, kind of joined them in their process. And this was similar. This was my agent saying, hey, they've been looking, and I know you're supposed to do this other role, and it's a time conflict, but why don't you just send in a tape? And I'm like, okay, when can I come in to the agency? She's like, we don't have time. You have to send it today. I was like, okay. Now, I was a new mother. I had a newborn baby at the time. And the only way that and he was like super, super attached, so I couldn't put him down. So the only way that I could do this audition was by wrapping him in a baby wearing wrap on my back, like a backpack.
Are you serious?
So on my audition tape, he's sleeping on my back and I'm being Whitney Houston.
Are you serious?
Yes. Yep. And immediately they sent the tape off. And later that day, Angela Bassett called me and told me that I was her Whitney. And I left the other job and immediately, like within days, flew out to LA and we began. It was very fast, very fast.
So, and do you remember the Yaya before that call of your agent, who you was? The Yaya before that calling from your agent who told you that they looking the actress of Whitney Houston. So who you is different person now or the same?
For me, while that was a huge deal, because Whitney had just recently passed away, there was all of this very fresh energy around grieving and who has the right to tell her story. And there was so much intensity around it. And while that was a huge deal, I was the same person, like there was a shift in focus. Prior to the call, I was focused on seeing how much I could pump when he napped, right? I was focused on mothering, but I was still about to go to work on another job. It was just that one job took the place of another. I think, there may be other moments where I could say, oh, this was a huge shift. It was a different person before and after. This particular one, I think maybe the shift was more subtle, and it was really just about the trust.
To yourself?
Yeah, the trust in the divine plan, in myself, in my path and purpose, and knowing that I am capable of doing this. It takes a lot for a performing artist, especially actors, to really own their craft, because so often the outside world only sees us valuable as our last job or our current job. And when you're not working, it's like, oh, you're an actor? Oh, what have you done? Oh, not working yet? Nothing. Nothing I know, right? Okay. There's a invalidation that happens, and people are not doing it intentionally. But Ann Willis-Rattray, my acting coach from when I was 11 years old until not that long before she passed a few years ago, would always say, there are no small parts, only small actors. She would also say, you're not all of a sudden a good actor because you got a job. You're the same person before and after the job. It's just that someone else with the power to give you this job has recognized you. But you didn't all of a sudden become good enough. You were good enough. You're already good enough. You're born good enough. So, yeah, I take her perception of that, kind of the question that you are asking me, to heart, because it takes a lot to walk with confidence and knowing that you are good enough, whether or not you have a job to prove it.
And for you, this is a job or your life?
It's a passion.
Passion.
It's a passion. It's a calling. It's a job. It's not my life. I have so many interests and I do so many things on the side that recently, the more I get into sharing publicly my private work as a healer, as a birth worker, like it's showing me that my days in front of the camera may be numbered, and that's by choice.
You can heal our people?
Well, we can all heal ourselves, right? We're all healers. It's just a matter of cultivating that and learning skills and things. Yes. So, for a long time, maybe 15 years, I've been a Reiki master, energy work.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah. But I've done it for me, right? I'm not like opening a practice or going to people's homes because I never felt like I could, right? I'm in movies on TV that somehow it doesn't fit, you know? But I did it for me. I did it for my loved ones, for my family, my friends. Same thing with birth work. I was able, whenever I wasn't on set, to attract or to align with birthing people, with mothers who are giving birth at a time when I was off, and so it always just worked out. But I didn't necessarily until now think that I would have this big practice that people that I didn't know could come and, hire me. That wasn't why I did it. I did it because it called me, and there's some activism around this work that I'm doing, that I'm starting to do right now, and the experience of having an ecstatic birth myself and then supporting other women in birth, both in the hospital setting and at home and in birthing centers. It was necessary to have that experience to be able to speak from a place of knowing as I embark on these other projects. So is acting my life? Not exclusively. It's a huge part of it. And for so many years, I felt conflicted because I'm so private and like, oh, people are recognizing me. Oh, I have to take the subway. They know my name. Like, it was so uncomfortable when I was younger. And now I have so much appreciation for that platform and that process because I know now why it was given to me, because I'm supposed to speak about these other things, and now I have their attention. And I can put those things into my art as well, as a writer, as a director, as a producer.
Do you share with your experience with other people about the brief work?
At any chance I get. I love talking about birth. It's one of my favorite things.
Please share
we're
with
not
us.
going to go hard right now, but just know sometimes I have to remind myself, like, okay, that's enough. They didn't ask you, about how to, birth a breech baby. He just, I'll go into the whole detail, the process. It's surprising that I don't have 10 kids. That's how much I love it.
Do you want to have 10 kids?
I don't.
How many kids do you want?
I don't know. I have one, and
And in your family, you're not alone, yes? You have two?
I have 3 siblings, 2 on Earth, 1 on the other side. And
Bless.
yeah, who knows? But as soon as I had my son, I remember my first thought, well, maybe my third thought. The first thought was, wow, he's holding his head up. Oh, he's crawling up. Oh, he found he immediately army crawled his way up my chest to the food and started eating. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then the midwife said, aren't you going to find out what it is? And I was like, what do you mean what it is? It's a baby. Oh, right. Is it a boy or a girl? Then I looked and I was like, oh, it's a boy. It wasn't my first thought. Then I thought, wow, that was so fun. I can't wait to do it again. How many people do you hear talk about birth like that? I worked on Chicago Med, a hospital show, playing a nurse for 6 years. And pretty often they would write people coming into the emergency room to have these, super high anxiety, births. Oh, this is wrong. We have to cut her open. And occasionally I would just talk to the writers and just, say, that's interesting because, I've done a birth where this was the issue and we didn't need to do that. You just kind of did this instead. And they're like, yeah, no one's going to believe you. I told them about my birth and they're like, that's great for you, but no one's going to believe you. Why won't they believe me? Because it's in contrast to everything they've been told by their mothers, by their aunties, and more importantly, and impactfully sometimes, by media. How many movies have you seen where the woman is like screaming her head off and helpless and just she looks like she's about to die, right? And that's by design.
Yeah.
This is the image of birth that we've been fed. But if we start to tell other stories, then those possibilities like activate synapses in our brains, and suddenly we think, oh, that might be possible for me too. And so that's one of my missions, is to tell more beautiful stories so that more people know what's possible and the birth culture in the world can change, you know.
And if you will have a chance to make a big movie about birth chance,
I'm writing it.
you're writing that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's imagine that, for example, in very nearest future, this movie will happen. What will be the main message to the people of that film?
Beautiful question. The main message will be that we are our own gurus, our own mothers, aunties, midwives, and that the wisdom of how to birth lies within us. It's within our DNA. I mean, how long have humans been around compared to how long the medical industrial complex has existed?
Yeah.
We've been around a lot longer. And that's not to say that I don't have immense respect for Western medicine, for science, for the doctors who know how to save lives through surgeries that are absolutely necessary. Yes. I have so much respect for them. And I happen to live in the United States, which is one of the developed countries with the worst statistics around C-section rates, you know, belly birth, as we like to call it, maternal mortality, you know, especially around Black women and women of color from any economic background. And a lot of that has to do with implicit bias and how these surgeons / doctors are trained. And so my message is hands off.
Hands off.
You know, when it's absolutely necessary, hands on. When nature's doing its thing, hands off. Because we have the wisdom ourselves, and it can be so beautiful.
And when that film will be finished, what the main word will be? Because all films ending the end. And what will be your word? The end or something new on the end of the film?
Oh, at the end of the film. Oh, I mean, it's definitely not the end, right?
Yeah.
It could be the beginning, you know, of something new. It could also be the remembering.
It's a great. So when the film will finish, it's beginning or it's just remembering?
Yeah, the beginning or the remembering.
It's not the end.
No. I mean, it's the end of something.
Yeah.
Right? That these remembered practices that will replace. You know, it's the end of fear.
Yeah.
It's the end of disempowering experiences. It's the end of unnecessary interventions. It's the end of cluelessness, you know, but really cluelessness comes from fear.
Yeah.
Right? I know it's going to be bad because everyone says it's bad and I don't want to have to deal with it. So I'm just going to close my eyes and keep working at my job until the last minute because I can't take maternity leave, you know, until the last minute anyway, because my job only gives me, you know, this 6 weeks or something like that. So let me just focus on the same hustle, right? And stay in that energy and like, you know, all of that is perpetuated by society, but it's also reinforced by the fears that we were taught.
Yeah.
And with less fear if we could embrace the process and embrace our power, follow our intuition, you know, that's the most beautiful thing, is witnessing someone do what they thought they couldn't do. And they are completely reborn. You know, they're completely like, they're just a whole other woman, because now she knows, you know, her power, and she can apply that confidence to anything else she wants in her life. It's also beautiful to see the other parents, you know, who are oftentimes fathers, see for the first time, see their partner in this space like, wow, I thought I was in love with this woman, but after witnessing that, oh my goodness, like, what power, you know?
What is your deepest fear maybe you had or maybe you have now in your life?
I don't give a lot of space to fear. You know, a small fear may be the fear of heights.
Heights.
Right? Heights.
Heights.
But it's subtle. Like, I grew up in a building in New York City on the 23rd floor. I grew up on the porch looking down and feeling that rush up the back of my legs that people with vertigo get, but still being okay with it, still choosing to be there and play and, you know, sit and have a snack with my siblings, like on this terrace overlooking all of Upper Manhattan and the Bronx, the Yankee Stadium, the Hudson River, New Jersey, having this expansive view. And those things coexisted, right? The feeling up the back of my legs, me wanting to back up into back to the door and go back inside, but then choosing to stay there. So growing up with this awareness that fear can exist and you can do it anyway, I think is very powerful. And maybe that's why I don't think I have a lot of fears. You know, I've already lost one of my best friends in life, my big brother. So I know, and it was an accident, I know anything can happen at any time, you know? So I don't really fear death. I just know that that's one of the only things that's guaranteed. You know, it's just making sure that we do the most of it, of life, before that happens. And then maybe, even if it's a bit esoteric, I would say the fear of not doing my purpose.
Yeah.
What is the purpose of this incarnation?
Do you believe in incarnation?
I do.
What is your incarnation now?
This is the celebration incarnation.
Yes.
Yes.
The last one?
I don't know if it's the last one, but I've only been on the planet this time for, a short time, and I've done quite a lot.
Yeah.
I've lived lifetimes within this lifetime, When I look back, I'm like, okay, started traveling alone,
But when the people see on the people like you, like a very famous people, like a star, sportsman, politician, musicians, a lot of people think that this is the lucky person. But a lot of people don't know how much that people also felt before or how much experience they had. What you can tell that people who think that you are very, very lucky, that everything what you have now is just because of lucky.
There's an element, there is some luck.
Yeah.
Right. Even if I don't use the word luck, right? Any synonym, blessing, I am aware, very, very aware, that I can't even think of many people who came from where I come from, who have kind of been able to step into other realities. There's so many different ways to human.
Yes.
Right? And there sometimes there can be so many invitations to just stay where we are because it's comfortable, because it's safe, and so there is bravery, takes bravery to be able to see something different for yourself. And then it takes hard work in order to insist on your deservingness of that. And then it's a different kind of work to actually pay those dues, right? And work those hours. I mean, there have been times when I've had 3, 4, and 5 jobs at the same time, before I decided to exclusively act. I've done a lot of different things.
Yeah, but you had 5 jobs on the same time, correct? Before the acting.
Mm-hmm.
And you had 5 jobs because you need the money or what?
Yes, of course. I needed the money. I was very
But
serious
a lot of people
about.
also need the money.
Yes.
And that's why I'm talking
right.
about
They're not
the
doing
lucky.
5 jobs, right? Because it's yeah.
And they don't know, for example, a lot of people, I think they don't know that you had before 5 jobs on the
Right.
same time because you needed money for yourself, for your family.
Mm-hmm.
It's true?
I'm from Harlem, New York City.
Oh my God.
Okay. When Harlem was Harlem. It's not Harlem anymore. It's a different thing now. But
You was in
when
Harlem, but it was
Harlem
like
was
Harlem,
Harlem.
like in Hollywood pictures, yeah?
I mean, which pictures?
From Hollywood,
like from the 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? We're at the playground and you're like, what's this? It's
Bullet.
no, it's like a one of those little plastic tubes with like either red or blue caps. That's what cocaine used to come in, or crack, or whatever.
Yeah.
They'd just be lying around, right? With people standing on the corner, bent over, swaying. It was terrible, terrible.
How old you was there?
My whole childhood. I grew up in
until what?
Harlem. Well, I always came back in the summers, but I was there from birth until 13. But my parents have been on the same street since 52 years ago. They haven't moved still.
Okay, so how many
But I went to
kids were
boarding
in
school.
one? It was apartment or house?
Yeah,
What it was?
apartment. Yeah. So
how
it was
many-
four
how many
kids,
bedrooms
6
was?
people. It was 3 bedrooms. My parents, they actually got in at a great time. So we had a boys' room, a girls' room, and then the library.
And it was like a rich life of your parents, or it was like a Harlem family, as usual Harlem family?
No, very poor. Very poor. But my parents were different, right? So they wouldn't spend money on things. All of my father's clothes were holes in them and everything, but they made sure that we had the best education. My father was a college professor at the community college, and my mother ran her own Montessori school in Harlem. They were educators. And so even if I didn't have any new clothes, so what? I had older siblings. My older brother and sister grew out of the clothes, so now they're mine. No big deal. Who cares? What was important to them was our education. We all went to Montessori school where my mother taught, and she was a teacher there, so we could go for free. Then we all went to boarding school, college prep school in Massachusetts, because my father knew about those kinds of schools, and my mother was very hesitant at first with my older brother. But then as she started to warm up to the idea, it became just like almost automatic. Like, my older siblings went, my younger brother and I would go visit, and what we saw was freedom. We couldn't play outside in Harlem. It was dangerous. We had to sleep away from the window, because you'd hear gunshots. But up in Massachusetts, we could just run around, roll in the leaves, go in the we called it the woods. It wasn't the woods. It was like a cluster of trees. But me and my little brother would go and like build a fort with some rocks and some sticks, and we felt like we were free there. So of course, when it was time to go to high school, I had to face the choice of either going to boarding school like my older siblings had, or going to LaGuardia, Professional Performing Arts School in New York, to which I had gotten in for dance, drama, acting, and singing. And people thought I was crazy. The kids who I went to school with who did not get in were like, "What do you mean you're not going?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to boarding school." And so, yes, we had a much different experience, right? It wasn't a Harlem, people call it Harlem World in hip hop, right? That was started in like the 90s with, won't say any names at this point, but because those names are in trouble at the moment. But it was called Harlem World. And for a lot of people, that was the world. They didn't really leave, didn't really even go downtown Manhattan, for certain reasons. But we always knew, looking out from the porch, right, with that view, we had an expansive mindset. And then going to Massachusetts for school was like incredible. And then we would come home in the summers, and then we would go away again, and you're just living between these two vastly different realities. We all got full scholarships to the school because of academics. My parents did not play about grades, but because of that also gave us just more possibilities. So was it lucky that I landed parents who prioritized education? Was it lucky that I landed a father who is an intensely spiritual man who taught us about the power of meditation and visualization? And there's in the Ifa tradition, there's an Odu called Ofun Irosun, which means through prayer, miracles happen. Rough translation,
Through prayer,
obviously.
miracles happen.
In the Yoruba language. And when I say Odu, that's it's a divination system from West Africa. And there are all these different possibilities. And you go to a diviner, you ask a question, almost like tarot cards or the I Ching, different things all around the world, different tools. But it's a way for human beings to kind of communicate with spirit. And so that's, there's all 256 possibilities. And, then one answer will give you some insight into whatever you're dealing with in life at that time. But I remember hearing about that Odu, and I think it's like, yes, there is luck and also prayer or hard work or, alignment or ceiling breaking, right? Whatever that means for you will, can manifest into miracles.
And do the people know about that part of your life?
This is the first time I've ever said anything.
This is the
This
first
is the first
time?
time that I've spoken about divination. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that is wanting to be shared, that is like, that I've lived with my whole life, or some things that I've, I have certifications and a bunch of things that, like, if I go down the list, you'll be like, so why are you not doing these things? I mean, we love your acting, but why weren't you? And it's like, well, I think it's taken me until now to figure out how to integrate all these different parts of me, and like present them in a way that is not scary, I think, because 20 years ago, talking about manifestation wasn't as popular as it is now. Talking about, a number of things, right? Like, I just started a head wrap line called Wraps and Raps. And I've worn head wraps my whole life, so people saw me in them 20 years ago. But if I had said then, okay, I have chosen these patterns because of symbolism, and each one has a different intention. And when you wrap your head, feel that the Reiki energy that it was attuned to, and uplift your spirit. And the people would look at me like, "What are you talking about?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're the real case in your real life, when a lot of people want to know about that story, what you had. Because when I asked you about your fear, you talked about the high, like about floors, but nobody knows that maybe you had a fear when you was a little girl that you can stay on that Harlem, but you made a manifestation from your dad, meditation, and I think, and I'm sure that you believed already there that something will be great with you.
Of course. I mean, I didn't think of myself as inferior to my classmates in Montessori school. we would have play dates where I or my little brother would go to their house, right? Or they would have a party. No one came to our house. That wasn't a thing, like back then.
But can you imagine that a lot of people have a fear, go to Harlem World. Mm-hmm. They have fear before, like thinking about that.
Yeah. If you're driving, you roll up your windows, you lock the doors.
And you was grown up there.
Yeah, of course.
And you went out from that world, from Harlem World, and you go to another world to show people, also to motivate them about, like you told, about manifestation, about meditation, because a lot of people now began to talk about that.
Right.
Yeah, like a lot of different famous people from Hollywood, from different like sportsmen, they began to talk about that. Mm-hmm. And I think your story now will be very honest story for a lot of people who didn't know about that. Mm-hmm. That you was a little girl from Harlem World. And
I love when you say Harlem World.
Yeah, it's great because it's also a different world.
Yeah.
It's a world of the people who was born there. And on that world, on the Harlem, how many girls like you now from your Harlem world, from your street? Where are they now? They're still there in the Harlem world?
Maybe.
You don't know?
Probably not, because they probably got pushed out because of gentrification, actually. It's a different Harlem now.
And
but
I think that it's not only luck. It's only your very deep belief in yourself from different meditation and manifestation, working with the energy because of your dad, because of your family, because they gave you something very important. What you want also, I think, to share with the people.
Yeah, but they also put us in places that did not reaffirm the illusion of inferiority that the rest of the world might have you believe. So if I'm in elementary school with the daughter of a local politician because it's a great school, well, then I get to see that actually she and I are not that different. If I'm in boarding school, doesn't matter if I'm on a full scholarship. Nobody has to know that once I'm there. Once we're there, we're equals. I'm in class with the children of, huge venture capitalists and military people and, founders of companies. But I know, because we're in class together, we're in dormitories together, we're hanging out, we're going to the school dances, we're having deep conversations, as deep as we thought they were at 14 years old. But I have proof that we're equal, that we're not that different, and that the thing that separates us is money. But what is that? That's just a form of energy exchange. Okay, well, how do you cultivate some of that? How do you have your life show evidence of that? How do you transform that, But there was never a belief, inferiority, that the rest of the world would try to have you think based on gender or skin color or place of birth and upbringing. So what? Okay, this person came to the school from this other country. This is like a literal prince, in my class. And we're peers. And we're learning. We're all on this same journey of figuring out who we are. Our school was amazing, by the way. Freshman year, we actually had a paper. We had to write a paper, a thesis statement, answering the question, who am I?
Yeah, do you remember?
I'm gonna find it. I know it's in that stuff. It's in the boxes somewhere. My mother might know. Do I remember what I said? I don't remember what I said in that paper. I know that in my senior yearbook, where everyone puts a quote under their pictures, my quote was, "I learned to fly by letting go of the things that weighed me down."
Oh my God.
And that was at 17. I'm the same person. I'm constantly like, okay, hold on, let's assess. Okay, it's a full moon. What's not serving me? I released this, I released that. Like, I'm the same person, you know? Just more expansive.
I would like, of course, to share with a lot of people who knows you, like a great model, a great actress, to know about your story. I think someday you will make the book, you will write the book about your story, or maybe film, because it's a very, very motivation. Because a lot of people, they're sure in 100%, if you like here on the star, you are the very lucky, your parents lucky, your family is lucky, but they don't know the truth about you.
We are lucky, though. We are privileged.
Yes, but anyway, you was on the place
Yes,
where
yes.
the people, for example, they never been there.
Yes.
For example, they live in the comfortable areas, in the comfortable cities, and they have different fears. They can't make the first step with their passion, with their job, with everything.
Yeah.
And when they see at you, like, and thinking, oh my God, that girl was there.
Yeah.
And now, because she was believe in herself,
Yes.
she was study very hard.
And she was also trained by her parents
Yes.
to be autonomous, independent, capable, you know? I recently came across a cassette tape. Yes, a cassette tape. And one thing about my mother is that she is a wonderful documentarian. She would always record things, videos, and we had this cassette player where you could, you know, just put the tape in and press record, play. And I found this tape and I listened to it, and it was my parents and my older siblings, who are 8 and 10 years older than me, talking before a meal. And my younger brother wasn't yet born, so I probably was about 1.5, maybe 2. No, actually, yeah, it was probably about 1.5. 'Cause I'm thinking I have a niece now who's about that age, and she feels like she's at the same level of, you know, development that I was on this tape.
So do you have the tape when you was young?
I have the tape, and I listened to it because I found it last year when I was moving. And on this tape, I hear my family about to have a meal, and then they say, oh, what's wrong? And I'm saying, you know, some baby language thing. And they're like, oh, you have to blow your nose? Okay, go in the bathroom, get the tissue. Good, now come back. Now blow harder, right? So this doesn't seem very interesting, right? But what I took away from that was, whoa, my parents made me independent by, even from a very young age, directing me to how to help myself. My mother didn't get up and get the tissue paper and come blow my nose for me. They made me feel like, of course, you can do this yourself. Go ahead. At 1, you know? And that was like mind-blowing. Yeah. I could walk. I knew how to rip paper off of the, you know? And so when I think about, wow, when I was applying to colleges and universities and I was writing my essays, and, you know, I just remember, like, it was the biggest thing. It was so important. You know, I had a college counselor who had suggested all these schools for me that my parents felt were beneath me. And they were like, forget that. You're applying to the Ivies, right? The Ivy League universities are the top universities in the country. And if I had listened to that counselor, I would have never ended up at Brown, which is where I went to school. Yeah. But I remember that time of, you know, getting all these applications done. And I was in my parents' home at the time, you know, over a break from school, but I felt very alone. And I was like, why isn't anyone helping me? And then there's probably been a lot of times like that in my life where I felt like, I know they love me, but my goodness, I'm doing all this by myself. And I was like, wow, this is not new. This is not because I've achieved some level of success. It's because this is how I was raised. I heard that little baby on the cassette tape being like, good job, you know? And then they all said grace. They're about to have the meal. And then I hear my voice, and me, and me, and me. And they're like, okay, and you, do you have something to say? And I go, amen. And they're like, okay, very good, amen. You know, like, not only can I blow my nose by myself, but I also matter. My contribution to the conversation matters. I'm part of the family. You know, I may be a baby, but I'm still a full human being. And what a blessing, you know? So that's a privilege, you know? Yes, I do feel lucky to have been born into these parents. Absolutely.
Can I share with you something? When I'm just here with you and listening, it's an incredible, like, universal story about you. I think it will be great, for example, for a lot of little girls around all over the world to see you, your story, and maybe to make, you know, like a Yaya dreams. And for example, if you can share with your social media and, I don't know, somewhere with little girls who can see that and send you maybe some letters with the dreams, with the hashtag Yaya dreams, and then you can share with that dreams with the people who can help that girls, and they also, for example, can help somebody just not only with the money, just with something words.
Mentorship, inspiration.
Yaya
that is
dreams.
A beautiful idea. Oh, Igor, if I do that, I will make sure to let everyone know that this is your idea, because it's beautiful.
Of little girls now around all over the world, maybe some of them don't have the same parents as you.
Yeah.
Some of them live without parents. Some of them have parents who don't share with them like your parents share with the manifestation, meditation. They live in a difficult life also. And if that girls can see you like a Yaya dream, to make their life is more powerful for them, because they have you, Yaya dream.
And it's not just for little girls. I think it's for young women, older women. It's really beautiful to see these, like, level ups, you know, these glow ups happen at any age, you know. And I love, in my spare time, I have traditionally done a lot of, like, spiritual retreats, and you know, I actually am planning one with a friend next year, Juliana Luna, who created the Aluna method, which helps women understand, all people actually, but especially women, because our internal lunar cycles are more obvious, right? Because of what we do every month. But that's still a lunar cycle. And when we get to know, there's like ancient wisdom around this cycle, and we can maximize our potential by aligning our actions with the cycle that already exists. So I'm working with her on a retreat, and I mean, just in general, wherever I am, I get to witness really powerful women leveling up constantly. So I know that it's like, it's not age specific. Sometimes I see women in their 60s like just get rebirthed, and I'm like, wow, what a beautiful, you know, it's never too late. So yes, the earlier we start, the better, because wow, how far ahead, you know, of the rest you'll have such an advantage. But any age, it's never too late.
Yeah, but anyway, any woman have a little girl inside.
Exactly.
And this also will be like, you know, manifestate for their little girl, like Yaya dreams.
Listen,
let's make it
my little girl
truth.
Inside is skipping down the street, just ecstatic, doing cartwheels, because finally I have let her have live out one of her dreams, which is to be a rapper. When I was a kid, I knew all the rap songs on the radio, even if they were saying things I shouldn't have been saying. I just knew the lyrics, and I loved it. Even, you know, I would leave my parents, you know, We used to have answering machines, right? Before cell phones. There was a house phone. That's how you called people. And if no one was home, it would go to the answering machine. And then when you got home, you'd play the messages. Okay, these are for the young people who may not know that. So I would leave, it would be my voice and my younger brother's voice on their answering machine, and it would be a rap, you know? You've reached the DeCosta Johnson home, but you can't get to the phone. So leave your name and number right after the tone. Peace. You know,
Oh my God, great.
Everything was a rap, right? And then I just was like, no, like I'm going to act and I'm going to pay off my loans and I'm going to do this. And now all of a sudden, with the creation of this head wrap line, Wraps and Raps, which started because I would wrap my head in fabric while rapping a lyric to, you know, a verse to a song. And it became this thing that I just kept doing, and that's how the brand was born. But that little girl inside is so happy that finally everyone knows I'm a rapper. You know, it's like, you know, no, am I focused on becoming the next Nicki Minaj? No, who, by the way, was in the class at LaGuardia Professional Performing Arts School in New York. She was in the class that I would have been in had I not gone to boarding school. Anyway, we have a mutual friend who was in that class, and I was like, oh, wow. You know, but no, not necessarily. But I'm having fun. I'm expressing myself. I'm not, you know, limiting myself based on the limitations of what someone says an actor should be doing, you know. And if the raps suck, that's fine. Like, and if they're great, that's great too. But really, it's about me, like, just freeing my throat chakra and sharing with the world. Because guess what? Raps are what? Words. It's poetry.
Yeah.
So I can say whatever I want.
Can you make it now?
Make what?
Rap what you want to say in rap? Do you have your own song?
Well, I haven't produced a song professionally yet, but I have written some raps that I've shared on social media as part of what was just organic, you know, having fun, and now has turned into like, you know, a marketing tool in a sense, because people are watching me wrap my head while I'm rapping. So it's,
Can you make it now?
You want me to do a rap?
Yeah, something what you want to tell for your Yaya Dreams girl.
Oh, oh, let's see.
The camera in front of you.
It's so interesting because yesterday one came to me and I didn't remember, obviously it was yesterday, so I didn't memorize it, but I wrote it down. I have to make sure that it's appropriate before I choose this one. You might have the debut.
Oh my God.
But I have to see what's being said. Obviously, I didn't find a beat yet to go with it. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna do this. This is so deep. I literally was, you know, I traveled to get here, and I was still kind of on USA time, and so I went to bed very late, and this is what came out. This is like very interesting that I'm gonna do this without.
Let's make different thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
I will try to make it with a very special song. It will be music. And I will ask you something, and then you can read the rap with that music, okay?
With the music that you're gonna play me?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Can we try?
Let's just trust, right? Let's trust.
So close your eyes. Make very deep breathe in. And now I want to ask you, imagine that you play the role now of Mother Earth. You are the Mother Earth. Just feel it. A billion of people live, and you feel all of them. because you, Mother Earth, a big planet. Just feel it. And now you have a big chance to send a great message to all people who live on that earth. Just feel it. What do you want to tell all that people? Only one word, like Mother Earth. What one word you can tell them right now?
Return.
And all the people on the same time, they feel that word in their hearts.
Return.
And when the song will change, you will open your eyes like Mother Earth and you will read the song, what we have for them. Now just prepare. All billion of people, they close their eyes and they have a message from you. Return. And now when the music will change, you will tell them your story.
When I was young, I really liked to be liked. You relate? The boys would write and recite. I was psyched, took the bait, but what I bit into was nothing to chew, masticate, just empty promises and zero to reciprocate. As fate would have it, I stopped seeing the moon. She was late, my intuition grew along with my womb. Elevate, water breaks, it flows, it fills, and it regenerates. The younger me and me now see all we be, integrate. Now when I float into a room in full bloom, fluorescence, potions and oils from the east as perfume, my essence. They pause in stillness till I wink, please resume. I was sent, and if you're here, then you were sent to me too. I bet. I put my feet up on the arm of my chair. They get rubbed. Lavender, Epsom, and a wrap for my hair. In my tub, acupressure, moxa, Reiki, Tantra. I'm in love. I watch my step as I descend from my cloud up above. I love my heart, my mind, my smile, and my voice. So sultry. I love my letters to Congress to keep choice. My country, deep roots and oxygen flows when I exhale. I'm a tree. Now what on earth did spirit do with that veil? Now we see. That was very difficult because this was very loud and the beat, like the pace had nothing to do.
Great.
But I'm just telling you, I was in 5 different places at once and I couldn't hear myself.
It's great.
Yeah.
It was from your soul.
But yes, Mother Earth wants us to return. That is true.
And now, with that music, what can you tell to all people now who knows your story, who afraid maybe to make the first step, who don't believe in themselves? What can you tell them, like a Yaya girl?
There's so many things, so many different answers to this question in my head. And as a thinker, I could sit here and go through all of them and then decide which one is the best one. But my heart is saying one thing at this moment, one thing only, and that is, don't forget the fun.
Don't forget the fun.
Yeah, and that message surprised me because it's not necessarily the motivation, self-help talk, type of soundbite that you would expect as an answer to your question. But don't forget the fun speaks to the inner child that we've been speaking about. It speaks to, going back to another theme of our conversation, incarnation. it speaks to one of the main reasons I believe souls come to earth, to experience a body and all the things that we can do in these bodies, all the things that we can feel, all the things that we can try and fail and learn and try again. You know, it's like when we try to be so serious and correct, oftentimes we forget the fun. And I think it's in the fun, I feel that it is in the fun that we find our purpose, that we find our bravery. You know, another theme that's coming back, this is all tying it together. Birth. What did I say after my birth? I said, that was fun. There's so many hardships. There are people in the world undergoing so much injustice. And when you look at videos of some of these people speaking, when you speak to the children who are in tattered clothes and barefoot on the streets of war-stricken countries, they are somehow smiling, laughing, playing with each other. There's something really important to learn from them. Don't forget the fun.
I'm sure now that a lot of people who see right now and hear your voice, they began to believe to something very spiritual and very land. Believe in love.
We are love.
Because when we feel the love, we can make the fun. Especially when you are in the different world.
Mm-hmm.
When you was young, I think at first you feel love from your parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that your love now to the people, what you can share now, you have a great opportunity to become a voice of a Yaya girl.
Yeah.
And to share with them the love and the God inside what you have.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This conversation, I'll have you know, feels like a confirmation and a permission slip from the universe, right? We're in the school of life. And the principle of this school is the divine. And this permission slip is going to help me move forward with something that I've been planning.
Yeah.
Which is an offering to people, women and girls especially, that will support them in being their most abundant, authentic, highest selves so that they can live the fullest lives possible. And it's a magical moment right now where I'm realizing how, Reiki, up-level communication, the Akashic records, birth, like acting, rapping, all of these things are finding a place to settle and serve through an offering that is very unique, but that is powerful. And I hope to be not just inspirational, but building community, because I want others to see themselves in me as I see myself in others,
Yeah.
But I practice these things, and so the proof is in the pudding, and I can't wait to share all of these things in order to build community and empower others. So I want to thank you for this beautiful conversation, and we'll be in touch. And there will be moments in the near future where I say, hey, Igor, check this out. It's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity to have you here. And it's a great pleasure for me to hear your story, true story. Because this is what people now really need.
Yeah.
To understand the truth about themselves.
The world is changing so fast.
Yeah.
And I've always been someone who shied away from trends.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone's doing this, now I can't do it. The trend right now that we are experiencing
Yeah.
of self-awareness, spiritual growth, so many people are seeking, right? This is the best trend that we could have asked for at this time.
Yeah.
It's what humanity needs at this time. And going back to Mother Earth's message,
Yes.
a lot of that has to do with returning home. Returning
Oh my
home
God.
to nature, to knowing how to be a part of nature, because we too are nature.
Yeah.
How to be with our cousin species, how to be with the land in the ways that our ancestors knew, but we've forgotten. To return to those ways, to return home to ourselves, our true selves, and to return home to each other, to community, to feeling responsible for each other in the healthiest way. This is the best trend. Yeah.
And you one of the people who can share with that trend with a lot of people, especially with the young. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm very glad that you were here with us today. It was Yaya Dreams. And it was Igor Sivovv. See you later. And please, feel the love in your heart. Feel your dream. And believe in yourself. Believe in your breathe in and breathe out. Believe that nobody can change your life. Only you. And everything what you think now, just believe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.